Hey folks, this is Kalani. Let's have a little talk about World of Warcraft and what we expect in the next few months, because we're raiding the last raid tier of this expansion. Apparently we're only going to have 2 raid tiers, Hellfire Citadel being the last one, and 6.2 is going to be our last major content patch, meaning we're not really going to get anything substantial until the next expansion releases. Now that's setting Blizzard up for either an expansion relatively soon, a filler raid, potentially, which probably won't go down too well, and though a filler raid was mentioned if Hellfire Citadel didn't really last too long, and people seem to be chewing through it pretty fast. I've been capable of pugging 12 of 13 on Heroic, and 13 of 13 has gone down in a few guilds on Mythic, so it's kind of interesting to see whether we'll get a filler raid or not. I'm not entirely sure that's the right way to handle lack of content, but we'll have to see what Blizzard thinks about that. Either which way, we should be looking towards a new expansion. Gamescom is coming up very, very soon. Gamescom is the first week of August, meaning that they might have something prepared there. I know Blizzard have a huge venue planned. They have something big to announce. Not sure if it's World of Warcraft, but they do have a press invite only event, and a few World of Warcraft fan sites have been invited. That doesn't mean it's World of Warcraft for sure, but that kind of gives you a good inkling. A few things to add to that. We don't really have anything else to talk about for Blizzard, so I mean, expect something at Gamescom. It's probably World of Warcraft or Overwatch, so we'll have to see what happens there, but they'd have to announce at least a release date by BlizzCon, I would think, because BlizzCon is still 4 months away. Another 4 months of Hellfire Citadel, then months of beta time and testing, and then a release means we'll be sat in Hellfire Citadel for way too long. They said they don't want tiers to last as long as they have been, especially at the end of expansions, and they wanted yearly expansions. So we're kind of getting to the point where we might see an expansion before the year is out, which would be absolutely ridiculous, and they'd kind of have to say at BlizzCon, hey guys, right, we announced this at Gamescom, you guys know we've been working on it for a while, and now it's playable, and then just boom, BlizzCon comes, they release it there, and everybody's like jumping around and having a huge party. But I mean, that's probably a little too much to expect. That may be a little bit optimistic. But either way, we can talk about what this next expansion is going to be about, because we don't really see what happens with Gul'dan. Gul'dan gets thrown into the Twisting Nether unless there's something interesting at the end of a Mythic Archimond kill, which these top guilds need to share. We'll have to see when enough guilds have got Mythic down so they can actually release those videos. From what the rest of us have seen, Gul'dan gets thrown into the Twisting Nether. Archimond says he made a pact, and we're not entirely sure what all that's about. Khadgar says he's not entirely sure if everything is over, and we can call on the heroes of Draenor if we ever need them. So, do we follow that path? Because if we follow Gul'dan, we go to the Twisting Nether, something more to do with the Burning Legion. But progressing the Burning Legion story leads to Sargeras, and Sargeras seems to be the big bad of big bads, meaning that if we eventually kill Sargeras, that's probably going to be somewhat the end of World of Warcraft, unless we then go back and deal with old gods, but the old gods seem to be a step below the Titans and Sargeras. So I'm not entirely sure they'd jump the gun on that, because they want World of Warcraft to last another 10 years. So are we going to ditch this timey-wimey stuff and head back to the normal quote-unquote expansions without all this, by the way guys, alternate universe, don't think too much into it, just have fun deal? There's plenty of stuff we can still kill, plenty of big bads out there who we still need to take care of, such as Azshara. Now, anything to do with the water or South Seas areas, so you've got the Zandalari trolls, you've got Azshara, you've got N'Zoth, the old god under the water. Anything to do with that is actually looking pretty likely. There's a leak, quote-unquote, for the Dark Prophet, which has been floating around the internet for quite a while now, but it talks about how the Zandalari trolls and the Naga and Azshara join together to flood the continent and raise the ocean level, which isn't, too far-fetched, and because it's dealing with trolls, it also gives Vol'jin a good opportunity to prove himself as the new war chief of the Horde, because, let's be honest, he didn't really get a great chance to do that in Warlords of Draenor. That was all about Garrosh still. The only thing that I'm not entirely sure on, I don't really think it would happen, is the new class, the Shadow Stalker, which basically seems to be a hunter with a healing spec. I mean, I know we're short a male user. They need another male armor user and somebody else to use the bows, crossbows and guns in the game, because Hunter's the only one now. So while there is a niche to fill there, I don't know if they'd fill it with something which basically does the same job as a hunter, but, you know, if you want to heal, go play the Shadow Stalker instead. But apparently we're getting a lot of new zones, a lot of dungeons, and they're going back to the way things were. Whatever that means, but one of the big things that they say is we'll get a ship, which seems to be the evolution of the garrison system, where we'll have a crew, and we can sail the ship around the oceans. Not entirely sure if that's too good to be true, but as I say, this is all a leak, quote unquote. It's all unconfirmed, so anything is really up in the air at this point. But if you think about timing of the Warcraft movie, it seems that Blizzard might want to keep us in Draenor at least until June, July. Otherwise, that movie's going to be released when World of Warcraft is completely out of sync with it. I don't know if they care too much about that, but it definitely seems like Warlords of Draenor hyped up the movie, if nothing else. I mean, the movie being pushed back was potentially unfortunate for timing's sake, but it seems that the expansion of Warlords and the Warcraft movie went hand in hand at least a little bit, so I'm wondering if that's going to influence their choice on expansion theme or not. Unfortunately for Blizzard, if they want to do something like that, I feel there isn't much that we can explore with Draenor. We kind of knocked out all the warlords. Grommash isn't really even that interested in world domination anymore, and I think people would like to move back to the typical type of expansions where there's a new bad guy, someone from old lore. They start causing a little bit of a ruckus. We need to go shut them up before they destroy the world, preferably our world in our universe. Everyone gets some loot and everyone has a good time. My bet is on a Water or South Seas expansion, something to do with the Jara, the Naga and the Zoth. Maybe the Trolls in there as well. We didn't get any Trolls in Warlords of Draenor, so this Dark Prophet expansion actually has some merit, which is quite exciting. Imagine if you're Blizzard going to announce this at Gamescom and then a few weeks before it's kind of leaked all over the internet. That would really suck, and I wonder if they'd actually change anything. But it's going to be fun to see what they've got in store for us at Gamescom. We should hopefully get a glimpse at the future of World of Warcraft, maybe the theme of the next expansion, but I definitely think it's going to be something to do with Azara, if not everything else mentioned in this leak, and N'Zoth, the old god underneath the ocean. The main reason for this is that Black Fathom Depths actually had a few things changed to it. There's a lot of old god references in there, and there's new people in there. It changed without a great deal of notice. It changed a while ago, and there's no real reason to change that dungeon unless it's going to tie in later. They might have revamped it for revamping's sake, but remember that quite a few dungeons have come back as new heroic dungeons in the next expansions. We had Blackrock Spire redone for Warlords of Draenor, we had Shadowfang Keep and Deadmines redone for Cataclysm. So, what if we have BFD redone for this next expansion, but it's already actually been redone, and they just bump everything's level up and people can go ahead and have fun? It would be actually pretty fun, but there's a lot of old god references in there. Go run through it, check it out, it's pretty interesting. The last boss completely changed, so that's something which may be a little bit of a hint there.
Our herald, Akomai, arises from the depths. You have earned the honor of being the first he devours. Savor this victory, mortal. Now that you've heard our whispers, it is only a matter of time until you belong to us.
But seeing as this was done at the start of Warlords of Draenor, maybe it was just a revamp of a vanilla classic, so people didn't have to run the old BFD, maybe reading a little bit too much into it. But hey, might get a nice surprise. So while talking about the theme of the expansion is super fun in and of itself, I'd like to talk more about what kind of content we could expect, because we got quite a lot of new things in Warlords of Draenor. We got a lot of back-end stuff which allowed them to bring forth new features as well, so it's really interesting to see where they might take that. I mean, the garrison system is a pretty huge system, which they seem to almost lean a little too heavily on for content creation in Warlords of Draenor, and I think they're definitely going to cut that back drastically, because people standing in an instant zone with just themselves is kind of boring. And while the follower system was actually really fun, at least for me at first, it soon got to the point where you thought of efficiency more than anything else, especially with missions as well. Oh, I can make a lot of gold with this. Okay, we'll tweak our followers to make more gold and we can just use the garrison as a bloody cash cow, which I'm not entirely sure Blizzard had any intention of kind of releasing it like that. But the danger with something like the follower system and the garrison system is that when the novelty has worn off, the first few weeks, players will start min-maxing it. They will start cutting it down to its bare bones so they don't have to do any work with it, and it will provide them with as much benefit as possible. I mean, when you got excited to get a new follower, that was awesome. You got this new follower, you recruited him out in the world, but then it got to the point where you realized that it doesn't actually matter what followers you have, because they can all have the same abilities, they can all have the same traits. The only thing that changes is their model. So you're going to pick traits and abilities over your favourite quote-unquote follower, simply because it's more efficient. You can get these missions done faster. I feel if they kind of brought that back and each followers had very specific abilities, you would have to recruit very specific people to do specific missions. I feel that would be a much better way of doing it. You know, these followers then would then be unique instead of being the exact same, except just a different model. So we'll have to see what they bring back of the garrison, because I believe they've said they won't bring back garrisons in full, but will have a few features left over from them. Hope Pepe is definitely one of those. But it seems ludicrous to build up this entire new system and then just completely do away with it for the new expansion, because a lot of Warlords of Draenor was the garrison system, to the point where Blizzard had to make sure you went through the garrison system because they were putting a little bit too much into it for anybody to ignore. First it was this optional thing, you could place it wherever you wanted, then it became semi, you can ignore it if you want, but you're going to be a little bit behind in whatever you're doing, and then it got to the point where you have to go through the garrison system, you have to build a garrison, you have to upgrade your garrison if you want to do the rest of the stuff in Warlords of Draenor. So I'm wondering how much they'd pull back. Will they pull back a follower mission? This leak certainly seems to think so. We have a ship with crew. We recruit crew members on some of the islands and then do what with them exactly? Do we go on missions? Is there a mission somewhat like a scenario from Mists of Pandaria? Remember, we didn't get any scenarios at all in Warlords of Draenor. That's another system that they seem to have left behind, so they could bring back partial mission, partial scenario, let us go on a plunder mission from our own ship with our own crew and have it in an instant scenario. That might be one way to kind of pull everything together and keep the best bits of the systems they've left behind. One thing that I would definitely like to see continue is the quality of the raiding content. If there's a complaint about Warlords of Draenor, typically it's not in that area. The raiding and encounter design team definitely seem to be doing a fantastic job with these new raids. Highmore, Blackrock and Hellfire Citadel were all brilliantly engaging, had a lot of diversity in the mechanics, and quite a few of those bosses were pretty difficult, which is really nice to have in your raid tiers. These raid tiers have probably been the most enjoyable for me as a player, and hell, I'm not even in a raiding guild right now, I'm pugging Hellfire Citadel. So super kudos to the Encounter design team for this. I hope they can continue, but what I would like to see is potentially a revamp of how they're trying to do PvP. PvP seems to be in quite a bit of shambles recently, and Ashran definitely isn't helping. And the new mercenary system probably isn't going to be a big enough band-aid. That's kind of ludicrous. When I read that at first, I thought it was a joke. It's like, it's not April 1st today. What's going on, Blizzard? It's one way to suddenly band-aid. I wouldn't say fix. I don't think that's really going to fix anything. But it's a choice, I guess. Do you have a long Ashran queue? Yes. Alright, pop over to Alliance and win Ashran for once. Do you have a long BG queue? Yes. Alright, pop over to Horde, potentially lose a battleground, but at least you get to play one. It's an interesting thing to introduce. I'm not entirely sure if they're trying to blur the lines between Alliance and Horde. Eventually we're going to get to the Army of Light. That's what Rathian is supposed to have seen, so from the way the story is progressing, Horde and Alliance might blur a little bit more together, which would kind of kill PvP, unless you then turned it into server versus server PvP, which is on a completely different level, and I'm not entirely sure Blizzard would want to take things that far. So I'm wondering if they don't necessarily care too much about PvP because they're trying to whittle it down anyway. I'm not sure, but it seems to be frustrating to go from something like Wintergrasp into Tolbarad and then into Ashran. They don't seem to be hitting the mark very well on the objective-based PvP areas. It's almost like people treat it as a PvE environment more than a PvP, and they use it for kind of like a means to an end rather than a nice place to PvP. Which, let's be honest, a lot of people who PvP just want a nice place to go and slaughter some people. If it's not fun to play and it's not fun to happily smash some skulls, what's the point in PvPing there? Just going to a battleground and smash some skulls there. So, I don't know, there's a lot more issues obviously to do with the way that PvP is currently being geared, but at least they've got the auto-scaling going on, you know, the new system which allows you to have PvP gear as soon as you go into PvP combat. You're suddenly so much stronger than you would be if you were in PvE gear. At least that kind of cuts out PvE gear from PvP, at least in a dominating sense. So, they're getting there. Hopefully. We'll have to see what they have in store in the next expansion, because I don't really see them changing anything in this expansion except for the mercenary system. So now, hey, if you're into PvP, go to Alliance if you're Horde, get your human racial, and have some fun. If there's one thing that I could ask for this next expansion more than anything else, it would be to give us new abilities again. Warlords of Draenor kind of took a lot away from us and didn't give us anything shiny in return. We got a few talents. That was it. That was the new abilities from Mists of Pandaria to Warlords of Draenor. We got the enhancements, sure. They didn't really change a great deal, which is obviously a bit of an issue, because if you're not changing a great deal, we don't really change how we play, so a lot of us are still playing in the same stuff as we were in Mists of Pandaria. The only thing really changing it about is the tier sets, which is okay, I guess, but if you give us new abilities, we've got new stuff to play around with. It's more exciting, it feels far more new than just upgrading an old ability, I guess. The other thing would be new classes or new races. I think they're exhausting their class and race combos a little bit too much. I'm not entirely sure what valid race we could have. I'm not entirely sure what valid class we could have. They seem to have all of the bases covered. So that's kind of on Blizzard to see what they can come up with to give us. But they saw what happened when we didn't have a new class to reroll or a new race to explore a new starting area. Everybody funneled into Warlords of Draenor content straight away and caused so many issues on that first launch week. So I'd like to see something new there. Not necessarily just to have something new, but also to split people up at the start of an expansion. But at the end of the day, if Warlords of Draenor was a stepping stone expansion, it did pretty well for itself, let's be honest. We had quite a few systems introduced. We've got mythic dungeons going forward, which should help with gearing whenever they're released. I'm interested to see if they'll release mythic dungeons as they release dungeons, or whether it'll come later or unlock later in a patch to make sure people aren't using them as their primary source for raid gear. I can see balancing the rewards and the item levels being a complete pain in the butt. We'll have to see how they manage that. We've got the weekend events with the bonus to this, that and everything. If they introduce any new form of content, they can just throw that into the cycle for the bonus events, and we've got something else to do on the weekends. All in all, it seems like they're preparing for an expansion. We just need to know exactly what that is. So stay tuned for any information from Gamescom. If not, we'll get it at BlizzCon. We almost have to. So what are your thoughts and theories on the new expansion? Have you seen the Dark Prophet leak? What do you think? Do you think we'll probably continue with the Burning Legion, or pop back to Azeroth, have a nice vacation on some of the South Seas islands, and have a ship which we can run around and plunder islands? I don't know. We'll see what they've got in store for us. That's it for this video. If you have any questions or queries, please leave them in the comment section below and I'll try to get back to you. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always, I will see you next time.